What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be talking about some moves off the line that DBs cannot stop if we run them correctly. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you would like to train with us this offseason, we are coming out to 15 locations this year for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camp. So next up, we'll be coming out to San Francisco, Orlando, New Orleans, Charlotte, Dallas, the DMV, St. Louis, Honolulu, Boston, Cleveland, Austin, Seattle, Newark, Denver, and Los Angeles. So if you guys are local to one of those cities or would like to travel out with us, we'd love to have some of our members from our YouTube community there. We really appreciate all the support from you guys. So check out that very first link below if you're interested, want to work with myself and my staff of coaches. Let's get started. So now, first release we're going to be talking about, that is unguardable. DBs cannot stop is a hesitation hop release. So we're going to be showing myself doing this release right now. And then I'm going to show a professional example of this and kind of compare and contrast the two. But we're really going to be diving into the details of the release and how to use it and obviously when to use it. So let's play this full speed. So I come off here, I do this hesitation hop into a crossover and take an outside release. So like I said, we're going to show Doug Baldwin doing this release in a second. So the hesitation hop release. Essentially, from bird's eye view, what you would see is you are going to be hopping with your front foot, attacking the leverage of a DB. So in this specific case, we have a DB who's lined up inside shade. That means that he has inside leverage. So with this type of release, let's say, for example, we're running a fade route, right? Just a deep fade. We would want to attack his leverage to the inside, try to make him think we are running to the inside to get him to move. When he's inside shade, his whole goal is to protect the inside. So when we can threaten him inside, that can get him to move. And that's what this hesitation hop does. Now, the mistake that a lot of guys will make is they think that they are just going to hop with the front foot and essentially jump. That's not what you want to do, because at the end of the day, to threaten this DB, we have to close space with this DB. We have to step on his toes, I guess you could say, aka closing the cushion. There's a cushion between the two of you. We want to close it. So you want to actually step with your back foot first. So you see what I do here is I take a step with my back foot. That step needs to be inside of your frame. It's not this big, long step, but that step gives you energy, explosion, but allows you to push off of that foot so you can reach with the front foot. And Doug Baldwin does this exact same thing in the example I'm going to show. So I can show you guys that in a sec. But when I push off of this back foot and reach, that allows me to get into his frame. So now I squared him up, as you can say. I'm attacking the inside shoulder. I'm attacking this midline. That's what I have to do. But if you guys just try to hop and you guys just try to jump, you're either going to pop your pad level up in the air or you're not going to go anywhere. And then even if you get this DB to jump to the inside, he still has an angle to recover because we're not tight enough. So we have to push off of this back foot to close space, and now I can work my crossover. So now I can threaten it. So you see what I do here? I throw this crossover to the inside. I'm threatening to the inside, hips and shoulders, acting like I'm running a slant, trying to cross his face, whatever it might be. And that's what attacking leverage is. But that's the hesitation hop release. It's a step with the back foot, reach with the front, and let's close that cushion. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time, and then we're going to be showing a professional example of this and breaking down this exact release. So let's watch Doug Baldwin here. So same type of look. He's got inside shade man coverage. He's on the goal line running a goal line fade here. So maybe a little bit different, but let's watch his feet and let's watch the technique. So watch his back foot here. Pushes off of the back foot to close space. Because, fellas, at the end of the day, that's the name of the game. We want to make the DB uncomfortable. Anytime there is a cushion between the two of us, we have to close the cushion and make that DB nervous. Because, trust me, fellas, when you got 2 yards of space and you're doing all this movement with your head and shoulders, you're not going anywhere, a DB ain't threatened. He's not thinking inside release or outside release. He's thinking you're just dancing, and he's just going to react when you commit to a direction. So why not fake like I'm committing to a direction? Because that's what will get him to move. That's how we know we'll get him to move. But we have to close cushion. And watch this back foot. This is what I'm trying to get at here. Steps with the back foot, pushes off of it, and hops. That's where your hesitation hop comes from, that back foot pushing. Because now I pushed, I closed the distance, I got my feet underneath me, I'm in an explosive pad level position, I didn't pop up, and now he could throw this crossover. He could actually threaten him to the inside, step outside of his frame, and that gets him to move, and that sets us up for space back to the outside. Great job there by Doug Baldwin. That's a perfect example of that hesitation hop release, being patient, closing distance, but also threatening in the direction we don't want him to go. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Pushing, attacking, and then threatening inside. Now, next release that we're going to be showcasing here is the same version. But if you guys are a little bit uncomfortable with that release, we're going to be looking at Cooper Kupp at the top. This is another way to do it. So many people, think that there's only one way to run routes. I am not that guy. I 100% of the time think that there are efficient ways to do things. There are things that we all have to do on certain releases, certain routes, etc., to get open. But some guys are different than others, and some guys have a higher comfortability with certain things than others. So if that's uncomfortable for you guys pushing and reaching with the front foot, this is another alternative. So I call this a kick step crossover release. So some people don't like this one, but I'm just providing this as an alternative because personally, I like this one a little bit better. So what Cooper Kupp does here is he's going to take his back foot, I know it's cut off a little bit, and step behind his left foot and then get into the crossover. But that step behind is what closes the distance. It closes the cushion, and it acts as that kind of punch step with your back foot. So let's play this full speed. So he kicks behind, hits the crossover, and he does essentially the same thing. He closes cushion, and he threatens to the inside. So that's pretty much the gist of it, fellas. It's just a way to be a little bit more, creative with this, if you will. But I like this release personally because when you kick behind like this, your feet are inside of your shoulder frame, and there's just something about you loading up your hips like that. You kicking behind loads up your hips to where this crossover that you take is very, very explosive, and it allows you to threaten to the inside a little bit more. You can kind of throw your hip with the release because you load it up. So again, I remind it, he steps behind with the right foot. The steps of this are right, left, right, left. It's a 4-step release. Right, left, right, left. But the second right, left is a crossover to threaten that leverage. The first right, left is closing the cushion. Just like that hesitation hop, it's just another way to do it. Neither way is wrong for this situation. Inside shade, 2 to 3 yards off, threatening that leverage. Great job there by Cooper Kupp getting space and then winning on that goal line fade. Okay, so now, next release that I want to talk about that DBs cannot guard, if you do it correctly, is something we call a dive release. Because in man coverage, one of the best routes to work against man coverage, anybody that knows or thinks like an offensive coordinator knows this, what do we like to run against man? We like to run a lot of drags, right? We like to run like mesh because it is very hard for a DB to chase a wide receiver 50 yards across the field. So chances are he'll probably get him by a step as far as the wide receiver goes, right? So a dive release sells a drag, and that can really get a DB to overcommit, and that's what can help me win on a lot of routes. So we're going to be showing 2 examples of this. So let's play at full speed. We're watching Amari Cooper right here out of the slot. So he dives to the inside. Dive release is pretty much 2 hard steps to the inside to sell that drag, like we said. And we're going to be showing one more example after this as well. But what you want to do is, so let's say, for example, you're on the right side, your left foot is up. You would pretty much almost like pivot off of your left foot. You could take like almost a step with your left foot, but just something to give you bounce. This is where guys get very uncomfortable with this release, is that they'll like try to take a full-blown step with this and they step behind and they lose power, or they don't move their front foot and they just step across with their right foot, and it's very awkward. So you want to almost like pivot your front foot to give you some balance, and then we step across. And we're only thinking of it in 2 steps. We pivot, right, left. And those 2 steps have to be fast. We have to be gaining ground. My hips and shoulders have to be committed, because what are we trying to sell? We're trying to sell the drag. We have to make this DB think we are running a drag so he crashes down. And so that pivot step and that hard 1-2 and that commit of the upper half will get that DB to crash, and that can get us upfield. And I like this dive release personally when it's a head-up coverage. Could you work it against inside shade? Absolutely. Have I seen it against outside shade? Yes, I have. But I don't like it against outside shade because sometimes if that DB is very patient, he may just sit there. But I love it against head-up because he's not playing a true outside shade look. And when you cross that guy's face and it is a true man coverage, he is going to commit. But we have to run hard, we have to run fast, and we got to commit my upper body just like Cooper does right here. So let's play this full speed. So he pivots, 1-2, gets him to overcommit, and breaks this thing off on that out route. So let's watch another one. So this DB, I would say, is maybe a little bit more shaded to the inside. So this is the other situation it would work, right? Like this is more so of a This is like essentially almost attacking leverage, but we're trying to threaten him with the drag. Just like how on that like hezzy release, we were trying to threaten him with like an inside release on a slant. Just we have to cross his face. We have to threaten him outside of his frame. And that's kind of what the dive release does in this case. So watch what he does here. It's the same type of mechanics. See how he kind of pivots off the front foot, takes those 2 steps. DB's obviously in a tighter position, but fellas, all we need with a good QB is a step. That's really all we need, and he's kind of settling on this thing. Imagine if he was running an actual out route, he'd have him by more than a step. So it's a good release. It is going to work if you run it correctly. You have to have speed, you have to have explosion, and you got to make sure we are comfortable with this dive. So when he goes here, let's watch what he does. Let's watch his front foot. See how he kind of takes a step with his front foot. That's for balance, and then he goes right, left. But you see, full speed, hips and shoulders, it looks very much so like a drag, and he is running in full stride. He's actually gaining ground. One of the common mistakes that wide receivers will make right here, they'll do 2 things. They'll try to cross this DB's face, but they don't go anywhere. They take 2 choppy steps, and instead of being here at this yard line, they're maybe about 1.5 yards back. Those choppy steps do absolutely nothing to a DB. Nobody runs a drag route with choppy strides. They run a drag route in full stride like, hey, I got to get the hell across the field right now. So that's how you have to make this thing look. And now another thing that guys will make the mistake of is they turn their hips and shoulders too early. So they do this release, they run hard, they run in full stride, but before they put the brakes on, that right hip and that right shoulder will already be turning outside. What is a DB looking at in man coverage? He's watching my hips and my body language. So if I don't commit my hips and my body language, he will not bite. So let's play this thing again, full speed. So dive release and hezzy hop release, fellas, are the 2 releases that can be unguardable. DBs cannot stop that if you run it correctly. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. It's always great to hear from you guys, so please don't hesitate to leave any kind of video feedback or content you'd like to see next. We always appreciate it, you guys. And again, if you'd like to get some work in with myself and my staff of coaches this offseason, we're traveling out to 15 states across the country, so check out that very first link below if you're interested, fellas. I'll see you guys next time.